Good morning. This is Bill from Curious Cars on, a reasonably good Florida November morning. The temperature maybe a little over 60 degrees. It's fine. It's great now. Not complaining, not sweating, not dripping, not fogged up glasses. This is just fine. It's going to be a little bit too hot later in the middle of the day, but I'll try and stay out of the sun, and that should make it fine. So it's good. Yeah, we have good weather for the next, forecast for the next 10 days. Finally, we're at where we should be before I start getting robbed, which I know is coming later because of that El Nino shit that I keep hearing about. But for the moment, we're in good shape and happy. And today, I have a 1998 Mercedes-Benz SLK 230 compressor. I don't actually know if the compressor part, which basically just means supercharger, by the way, I don't know if that's meant to be part of the title of the car, but I'm going to put it in there. It sounds a little frightening, really, kind of a frightening German word. It sounds like something from the Nazi war machine that was, designed to get answers from POWs, but, we will put him in the compressor. But, you expect that. German, yeah, there's not really much you can say in German that doesn't sound evil. Well, look, real quick update. So we got a new dog. We've been getting rescue dogs for years, and we end up with really old ones that we give a nice going out to, but they don't last long. And at the end of the day, our backyard is starting to look like Normandy. So this time around, we finally got, kind of a young dog. We made a decision to do that. And he hates me. I have no idea why. I give the thing roast beef. I give it treats. I, vie for its attention. And the thing still hates me. It growls at me. And it runs up to me with the heckles up. And it even took a shit in my garage space the other day. And you could tell that it was intentional. It was not an accident. The dog just has it in for me. So don't know why. Hopefully it changes over time, but for the moment it's kind of irritating. A quick update on Chris, worst human being on earth. Talk about him all the time. Didn't actually have any Chris stories since he brought me those. He brought me nothing, by the way. He just offered some shitty charity chicken nuggets because he overordered them. When he walked in with a big pile of food, but none for anyone else. Typical Chris behavior. So Al calls me and said, man, I'm going to kill it. I'm going to kill him. And I went, well, what's up? Well, I guess Chris needed a lift from his house, his new house, to his old house, which is deep in the Everglades. So, of course, he called Al and said, can you give me a lift out? And I mean, we're talking really far out. Honestly, might as well be Okeechobee. Truly, it might as well be Cleveland. I mean, it's a long trip out there. So anyway, so Al said, yeah, whatever, hopped in his car, headed over towards Chris's house. Well, 25 minutes later, Al's about a mile away. We're talking about 5 o'clock Naples season traffic. Some of the worst traffic on earth. Chris calls and said, yeah, I changed my mind. I'm not going out. Go on home. So now Al is at Chris's new place, which is at Pine Ridge Road and 41, which is far and away the worst season 5 o'clock traffic in Naples. It took him like 4 hours to get home. And he called me up steaming and said, man, I am going to stab him to death. And between you and me, I'm amazed that hasn't happened to Chris yet. I am stunned. Absolutely stunned that somebody hasn't taken him out, but there it is. So Al was stuck in traffic that might as well have been Beijing at 9 in the morning, just that bad. Penelope, she flew across country in her fancy plane, epic trip, lots of photos, Grand Canyon, that sort of thing. The plane has a parachute, which my friend Andrew says will make no difference at all. It's to make the wives feel happy, because most shit happens when you're landing anyway, or weather. So basically, the plane burns up and a little smoking pile of ruin, and then a parachute pops out of it. Who knows? But anyway, it was a pretty epic trip. I got to hand it to Penelope. Very successful woman with all those vaginal hygiene products that she sells, even if she is intensely cheap. So, $500,000 plane by day, coupons at the Motel 8 by night. Glad I wasn't on the trip, quite honestly. But look, let's get back to the car, because I don't have much time. I'm getting 15 cars ready for these auctions in like a week and a half. I had months to do it, but there was just no way I was going to do it in the heat. So, you know, it's a last minute thing, but it's by choice. So I really can't beat myself up for it. So look, here it is. So the 98 SLK 230. There's a particularly nice example. Just under 16,000 miles. I bought it at CarMax a couple of years ago. We put it in storage to kind of figure out what to do with it. Famously, SLK interiors kind of disintegrate, and this one had that. So we put it away and thought we'd, you know, take it up later, but then we found out, okay, there's a company making some of the new parts, and so we brought it back from the dead and resuscitated it. And underneath it all is this sort of incredible super low mile example, and it has this little secret sticker on the windshield. There you see a little pirate, kind of a gay pirate with ships behind him and whatnot. That is for Naples' fanciest neighborhood. It's a little secret sticker they put on their cars to, you know, tell other people from that neighborhood, hey, you know, we're as posh and elite as you are, and you know, we keep all the bad people out. And I looked up the address on the reg, and $23 million house, which, you know, you hate to see people going hungry, but anyway, that's where this thing grew up, in a rather fancy house. And it checks out, because when I went through the owner's manual, I found some old receipts, and there were two in particular that stood out. One is the woman who drove it bought a bunch of jewels, not jewelry, but like jewels, rubies, diamonds, that sort of thing. So there was a receipt in there for like 20 grand, and then a receipt for psychotherapy, which sounds exactly like the type of person who would live in a house like that. What it means for the car, not really much, but just kind of an interesting aside. But look, let's get back to these things generally for a minute. It's an R170. That's the famous Mercedes chassis numbers that, you know, designate what platform the car is and what years and that sort of thing. So an R170. It's essentially a compact luxury roadster, and it was made over 3 generations from 1995. Came out in 96 in America, but 95 it started, until about 2020. And the design was overseen, and I did not know this till I started researching the car a little bit, by the legendary Bruno Sacco of the, you know, W126, W124, W140 fame. Incredible designer for Mercedes, and he came up with this design, which I did not know. And, you know, I get it now. I look at it, and it is handsome enough. You know, it is impactful. I was very surprised Mercedes built it. It seems a bit un-Mercedes-like, but here it is. Not officially stated, but it was essentially a response to the unexpected and incredible popularity of the Mazda Miata. I mean, when that came out, I think it took the car world by storm a little bit. Nobody expected it to sell in the numbers that it did and be as popular as it was. And immediately other car makers took notice, and here we go. Just a couple short years later, Mercedes has got this SLK coming out, Porsche has the Boxster coming out, and Audi has the TT. So it really meant something. It shared its platform, actually, and 80% of its parts with the Chrysler Crossfire. If you remember, this was the era of Mercedes and Chrysler joining up to form Daimler Chrysler. The Crossfire was meant to be an automotive celebration of that. People, I swear to God. Anyway, it was supposed to be an automotive celebration of that. It was a Chrysler product, but it was basically an SLK underneath. When I was selling these things at Auto House, I used to annoy people by saying, look, it's, you know, you don't have to worry. It's basically a Chrysler Crossfire underneath. So it's very simple. And for whatever reason, that sort of bugged the Mercedes guys. But it's on the precise same, well, length, not the same frame, but 94.5-inch wheelbase that the 190 SL and the 300 SL Gullwing, for that matter, had. I don't think that's by accident. I think they wanted it to be basically a modern incarnation of the 190 SL. That way they could pretend it harkened back to Mercedes history. SLK itself stands for Sport Light Curs, small. So You know, you have the Mercedes SL, which is the Sport Light, and then you have this, which was the Sport Light, but a smaller version of it, which is what the K designates. It was also the first Mercedes to have the folding hardtop, the Vario roof, as they call it. And man, that thing would draw a crowd. But when this came out, the SL still had a fabric soft top and a separate hardtop. So this was the first one. And it meant something, man. People would gather around it when the top went down. And they sold really well because they're kind of cheap. They were built on a C-class platform, you know, a shortened platform. Generally speaking, the simpler the Mercedes, the more reliable it is, and eventually the more it becomes more valuable than the expensive cars of them. Like if you go back to '98, maybe not anymore, but there was a time when the C-classes would pull more money than the S-classes because they were frankly a lot more affordable to drive and much more reliable and dependable, and, you know, failing Tiger detectors or trunk suckdowns wouldn't be a problem. I mean, it was very simple cars. So they took the C-class platform, they shortened it, and they made it into this little sports car. It was maybe not quite, a little bit too softly sprung to be a real serious sports car. They even made an AMG version, the SLK 32, with a hot rod V6, and that was a little bit better, but it was still not quite a sports car. Later generations would correct that. The next gen, the R171, I believe, maybe someone will correct me, but they actually put the 5.5 V8 in that thing. You know, 550 horsepower in a Miata-sized car, and that was insane. And obviously that had to have a beefed-up suspension just to handle it. But these little cars, basically, they were built for the ladies and for men who played tennis. You know, that was kind of their shtick in life. Not unlike the Miata, really, except minus all the weekend racing. Okay, I tell you what, we'll just get right into it. Get under the hood and have a look at that. We'll get these things out of the way. Oh, God. Everything's sore and painful. This one's going up to that North Carolina auction, by the way. Why, I don't know. It just seemed like a good place for it. But anyway, here's a 2.3-liter supercharged four-cylinder, inline four. Look at this ridiculous Mercedes on. It looks like the whole engine just exploded with oil. In fact, this is Mercedes' ridiculous Cosmoline, whatever you want to call it, rust protection. And I mean, whoever applied this was a giant asshole. Without, look at it dripping down the frame. Wait, this is plastic. It's not even going to rust. It's all gummed up in here, and the badge. It's just offensive. And I mean, that shit will withstand a nuclear blast. You can see I used my nail to try and get some of it off, and I just gave up. That is some of the nastiest stuff there is. So whoever looks at the photos is going to think the whole thing's exploding. So you might get a deal at the auction. It's worth looking at. But anyway, you can see under the hood is very, very clean in this thing. You know, rust proofing aside for the moment, and that's part of that, you know, 15,000 miles. But it's a good little engine, same one they used in the C-classes. They had a 200 SLK compressor, but that was for like Italy and Norway and didn't come out in the United States. And they also had a 320 with the 3.2-liter V6, considered probably more reliable or more desirable, I should say. I don't know if it's more reliable than this, but, you know, a V6 is kind of a smoother power than a supercharged 4. But I think the supercharged 4 is kind of cooler and more suited to the car, you know, than a V6 that might as well be in a Camry. You see those big Euro headlights, fog lights down low. They really did hearken to SL styling on this thing and made it kind of cool. All right, let's put that down, have a look inside the trunk. Now with the top down, the Vario roof, if you will, you still actually have pretty good trunk space. So there it is on top, and underneath all that space is still yours. You might want to fill it up before you put the top down, might make it easier. But you know, 2 people on a weekend trip, no problem. And then with the top up, the trunk actually becomes pretty huge because it's designed to, you know, hold an entire steel hardtop, and yeah, you can end up putting a lot of crap in there. Personally, all I need is this. This is, you know, it's a good 80s I've been on a movie gun kick, and this is the same one that was used in Falling Down and a bunch of other movies. It's a Tech 9. And, you know, if you want to do a drive-by shooting, really there's none finer. I mean, this is the proper firearm for that. And, you know, I think it's important to, you know, to follow tradition. So anyway, normally I keep that in the car, but, you know, for today I put it in the trunk so I could take photos. When I put the top up, you would see it had a pretty enormous place to put stuff. There's even a spare tire under there hidden away and some tools and some other crap. I had someone say, oh, it's a shame the underneath of the trunk is black. You know, you can tell. Well, it is not replaced. That's normal. That's the way it was supposed to be. They did have black under the trunk, and there's a VIN sticker on the trunk to prove it, and on the fenders. So all original paint on this car. There it is. The speaking of, you know, compressor and evil sort of things, this is the Mercedes corporate logo, which stands for domination on land, sea, and air. And, you know, that has to harken back to taking over the world. Love these little hoopity roll bars. I think they're kind of cool, and they're actually functional. So I tell you what, I'm going to get my crap together. I'm going to put my stuff in the trunk. No, I'm not. How the hell am I going to do that with the top down? All right, I'm going to have to run the top up. So to do that, let's see, we're going to hop in and do it right now and put my crap in there. So let's fire it up. There you see, just 15:09 on the clock. That's pretty wild. Alright, so to run the top, there's this button right here. Now when I push it forward, it's going to turn red. There it is. And then what's going to happen is that trunk is going to come up from the reverse. Up comes the little tonneau cover, and then up comes this Vario roof. Works in about 25 seconds or so. Pretty quick for the time. And again, you're talking 96, man. This was like Buck Rogers. All right, the light goes out, and then the side windows come up. So now, walk outside, and you can see it with the Vario roof up and in place. Yeah, very nice. And it does add to the look of the car, I think, you know, by not having a fabric roof. You know, everyone's going back to fabric roofs for obvious reasons. I mean, tin roofs are great. They come with their own set of negatives and positives, different from fabric roofs. They can be a little creaky and groany. You know, they can be more complex and harder to maintain. So whether you like it or not is up to you. But at the time, it was pretty hip, pretty cool, and you know, this was a big deal. So anyway, I'm going to pause it there. Now I'm going to get my... In fact, let's have a look in the trunk before I do that so you can see what I'm talking about. So with this divider, you can release, move in, and now look at the size of the trunk you got. I mean, you'd be able to, you know, you fit bodies back there. You could fit crates of ammo. You could fit any number of things you need, and that's all because it's, of course, designed to hold a hardtop in there, and it's a nice big trunk. So let me get my crap inside, and then we'll have a look inside the car and go for a spin. Bear with me one moment. Alright, so two quick things. One, I really didn't do a walk around of this car, so let's do that now. Have a look at the design. You know, it is handsome. There's no question about that. I love it in this green. I mean, look, this color is obviously going to be a love it or hate it. To me, I love it. I think it's great. You know, they're all silver, red, white, whatever. You know, it's nice to see one that's in a bizarre color. I think it's kind of cool. Good looking 7-point alloy wheels. They match. You could get an AMG package on these things, which look good. But you know, this one is a little bit more pure. Big sort of composite headlights. They look great. You got fog lights in the bumper. You got a grille with the star in it. No hood ornament, just a little badge on the front, and then of course the big Mercedes. We got 3 Mercedes stars up front with that license plate, just in case anyone wasn't sure what kind of car it is, and they might not be. But you know, very handsome the way the bumpers integrate. I like the 2 big power bumps on the hood. I think they look kind of cool. You know, very raked windshield, very abbreviated roof line, angles back, little rear quarter windows look nice. The black trim on the bottom, the compressor badges on the fenders. I think the door handles seem a bit overwhelming. They look like they're from a bigger car, but you know, they're fine. Color-coded mirrors, these sort of triangular tail lamps in the back with the trunk, you know, flowing into them. It just looks nice. Integrated third brake light, a little too close to the badge in my opinion. But I suppose they probably had to use a badge that size rather than make a new one. But anyway, a handsome car. And by popular demand, somebody asked, well, actually one person asked for it. Let me very quick run through the events of 1998 that, you know, were happening as this car was released upon the world. 1998 was kind of an interesting year. Probably the story of the year was the Bill Clinton, Monica Lewinsky scandal. You know, this was back when we didn't expect our politicians to do really fucked up shit. And, you know, now, of course, it's a very different world. But back then, this was scandalous, absolutely scandalous. He had taken this puffy intern and, you know, done terrible things with her. Or fine, you know, depends on your mood. But, you know, anyway, it was kind of a big deal. And it became the story of the year as it progressed. In possibly related news, the FDA approved Viagra in the year 1998. You know, they apparently offered it in 3 different sizes, you know, small, medium, and presidential, you know, depending on what milligrams you needed. But Viagra was now on the, and there's a bee. There's a bee coming at me. I don't know where the hell he went. He's probably flying down my crotch. Osama bin Laden, a name that we would come to know later, he released his jihad. I don't know where you do that. Where does one release their jihad? You know, you make this thing up, it's a document. Who releases it for you? You know, who's your PR department for jihad release? But anyway, he released it, and we probably should have looked at it a bit harder. Hugo Chavez, I believe, used to drive a bus. Then he came to power in Venezuela and, you know, really did wonders with that country. The United States bombed Iraq to try and cut back their WMD program. Yeah, this is pre-Bush. Actually, Clinton did it about 3 days before he was supposed to be impeached. I'm sure there's no relation there at all. So he sent over some bombers. I think Britain joined in, and we bombed the shit out of Iraq. Only to bomb him again and invade him a few years later. If you turned on the radio at the time, you'd probably have heard Celine Dion. Fucking exhausting. The Backstreet Boys, which is probably a good musical choice for this car. Natalie Imbruglia, who I thought was kind of hot, but, you know, a little too Australian for my taste. The Goo Goo Dolls, Aerosmith, perennially around. They never go away. Madonna still making stuff. A group called Chumbawamba did some kind of a drinking anthem. I remember this because I lived in Ireland at the time, and that was a big song there. And it was a real drinker's anthem. Movies, pretty good year. You had Titanic, you know, with that married broad who decided to have an affair with a homeless guy, and it's supposed to be kind of romantic. Armageddon, where a meteor is going to come and take us out. Saving Private Ryan, great movie. My dad chuckled, and I saw that with my dad. He's dead now, God rest his soul. You know, he was in World War II. There's some discussion as to his role. He's a Polish guy, and we're not really sure if he was a hero or a collaborator, but either way is fine with me. But I remember some guy, you know, a bullet bounced off his helmet, and, you know, then he took it off, he's looking at it, oh, lucky bastard. And then another bullet hits him square between the eyes and kills him. And my dad laughed out loud, uproariously. He found that just hilarious, which, you know, makes me like my dad a bit more. Also, There's Something About Mary was in the theater at the time. So anyway, there it is. That's what was going on in '98 when this car was released. And again, it would run through 2004, I believe, was the last model year for this one in the States. So, all right, let's hop in and see what we got. So famously, these SLK interiors are very fragile and wounded. You know, this one had deteriorated quite a bit. We had to go out and find a bunch of parts for it. There's a guy now building them. which makes it a bunch, you know, easier than it used to be. You had to try and track down good ones and then have a match if you were lucky. Now you can just order them. And with that sort of handled, they are going to be collectible cars. I mean, look, anytime the top goes down and there's a star on the hood, basically the car is going to be collectible. The only question is, how collectible will it be? And I guess that's something we're going to find out. But that said, it looks nice inside. 2 seats, black leather, very simple. You know, again, C-Class base. They didn't try to wow anybody. They just made a pretty nice, simple car. It has side airbags, front airbags, so pretty safe, rollover protection, kind of a faux carbon fiber trim all around. And yeah, you know, looks good. Comfy seats. I got chastised for slamming doors. Now I'm underdoing it, leaving them all half open. Alright, so there it is. Fires up that 2.3 liter. You know, nice and smooth. You got your temp gauge, you got your fuel gauge, you got 160 mile an hour speedo, which is probably a little ambitious. I mean, the car has 190 horsepower, 207 foot-pounds of torque. You got a tack over there with a just under 6,000 red line. This steering column telescopes out if you need it. You got your wipers on your turn signal stalk. You got your cruise control up here, which will confuse with your wipers. You got your headlights in the typical Mercedes place. Very simple climate control. You roll these guys for temperature and spin the dial to make it do what you want. This radio, these things, they're terrible. You can see already the LCD is going off. And if I turn it on, it's good. Let's see. All right, now it's not doing. When it kicks in, it's so loud, it blows your ears out, and then the volume control doesn't work. You get a nice simple shifter there. Back here, these little interior pockets always decay. Oh, jeez, always see what I mean? Oh, I gotta get that fixed with Robert. Unbelievable. Anyway, there's the ashtray. Oh, I wanted to pull that out anyway. You see, that's what makes these SLKs crappy. There's Mercedes build quality for you. Nice little carbon fiber shifter selection with your 2 power windows. You got your power mirrors here. Here's, of course, your top control. Here's an ashtray that isn't an ashtray because you've got one there. Over in the glove box, you got, you know, you can put some crap in there. It's nice. Here's the books. Here's the receipts I was talking about for the jewels. Let's see if I don't want to put her name in here. Let me pull this out. Oh, for God's sake. Oh, God. $23 million house. I wonder if that's enough. Anyway, there's the psychotherapy. Dates of service, 45 minutes to fix all your problems. And then here, she spent $14,840 on jewels. So I think she was doing all right. And of course, there's all your books. There's your airbag up there. You got a mirror. You got more mirrors here. And, you know, it's all good. Get my seatbelt on and go for a spin. You've got the 5G Tronic transmission, 5 speeds. That was pretty new when that came out in this car. You know, it was in the C classes and E classes as well. But, you know, good tranny. Good transmission. Actually, driver adaptive, would learn how you drove and shifted accordingly. So if you're pussyfooting, takes a few trips to figure out that now a hot rodder's driving it. Makes it more responsive, kind of clever, and actually doesn't seem to break, which is a miracle. You have to forgive me. I did the windshield on this thing, and I did a terrible job. Really Dalton-esque. I was tired, and it was hot at that point. So, geez, forget. I'm gonna see if I put on the defrost, if that helps. It doesn't seem to be helping at all. There we go. Anyway, so I'm going to have to redo that before it goes to the auction. But look, I mean, there it is. So look, it goes down the road fine. The steering, responsive rack and pinion, not recirculating ball, which was very traditional Mercedes. You got 4-wheel disc brakes with ABS. You can see they lock up pretty good, enough to push all the books onto the floor. And you know, even if it isn't really softly sprung like a driver's car, sorry, firmly sprung, you know, it's not for weekend racing. It's a nice balance between that and super soft. You know, it's a good cruiser car, and I imagine that's why the tennis guys liked it. You know, you got pretty good boost from that supercharger, you know, kind of cool. Gives it basically V6 power. We're talking 200 horsepower, more or less. So, you know, it's all that you need. And again, just 15,000 miles on this thing. But it's simple. It's no frills. It's just meant to be a fun little car, and that's what it is. And it's interesting to me now that these are collectible. I mean, it just shows how old I'm getting, which is pretty friggin' old. I mean, I just bought an 07 S550, which to me is still like some kind of a rocket ship, starship, and to the world is just an old tired Mercedes. I bought it for nothing. Nothing. I couldn't believe it. I remember when Peter and I got our first, you know, 221 S550 at Auto House, and it was expensive. And we're like, wow, we've hit the big time. We're in an S5. Well, I just bought the thing for like nothing. And I mean, it just goes to show I am getting old, fat, and tired, and God, I just want to go to that cabin and not let anyone within a rifle range. That is my plan. So anyway, look, I'm about to hit Naples morning traffic. I did plenty of night driving videos this morning. Those will be in there so you can see the thing driving around. I'm going to bring it in now and have Robert the German fix this crappy thing for me, and maybe have our interior guy paint inside there or something to make it look nicer. But you know, what the hell are you guys? And by the way, I hear about Robert the German. I have 3 Roberts in my phone, and I have to distinguish them somehow. So we've got Robert the Polak, Robert the German, Robert the Mexican, who I think is from Brazil. But either way, it doesn't matter. I have to find some way to differentiate them, and that's how I do it. So it just becomes nice and easy. Anyway, we're going to keep plugging along. I've got an Oldsmobile Tornado coming up. I've got a 79 Formula Firebird, which I may or may not do a video on because I've done them before. But it's kind of fun at the we'll see what happens. But I've got basically 9 days to finish these 15 cars and get them to 2 different auctions. This one is going to the Raleigh Classic Car Auction in North Carolina. If you have any interest, yes, the ashtray will be fixed, at least for a while, and it'll be up there for sale. And then a bunch of other, I think I got 10 cars going to the one in Punta Gorda and 5 up to North Carolina. So thank you guys very much for having a look. Really appreciate it. I'm going to fight traffic and head in, and we will see you at the next one. Take care.